When you talk about a developmental quarterback, you're talking about a quarterback like Trey Lance. And coming from Ian Rappaport earlier this afternoon, says sources, the 49ers have received inquiries from several teams looking into a potential trade with former number 3 pick quarterback Trey Lance. The conversations have been the result of San Francisco fielding the calls, not making them, with teams aware that Brock Purdy is likely the future starter. This is very intriguing to me because Trey Lance was a guy that the Detroit Lions were looking at. This is the year that we picked Penei Sewell. Had we had an earlier pick or Trey Lance falls to 7, the Detroit Lions could have very well taken him as that developmental quarterback. Now, this is coming into their first draft. So we had Jared Goff. He was going to be here, but we could have already had that developmental quarterback. Are the Detroit Lions one of the teams that are inquiring about quarterback Trey Lance? Now, this is a quarterback class that it's a lot of talent in here, but we have the expectations that we're not going to take any in the first round and potentially in the second. The closest guys we're talking about is maybe Hendon Hooker in the second or third round. Okay? Trey Lance could be a project that we could take on. Now, if we look at Trey Lance's stats, not that great. He hasn't had much, a huge sample size. He got hurt last year, and then the year before that only played 6 games. He's played a total of 8 games and has attempted 102 passes, completed almost or over half of them for a completion percentage of 54.9 for 797 yards with an average of 7.8. 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. His long was 76. If you go down to rushing, he has a total of 54 attempts and 235 yards. I'm not sure if he got hurt on a rushing attempt. I know it was very early in the season. I think it was the second game. He did start that loss against the Chicago Bears in that monsoon. And then it was the second game, I believe, that he got hurt. I can't remember if he was running or not. So could the Detroit Lions be interested in Trey Lance, and would you want them to try to acquire him for the right price, of course? Now, if we look at his contract right here, says that he is going to get approximately, you have the base salary of $940,000, and then in 2023, and the base salary of a little over $1 million in 2024. Then you have the roster pay right here with almost $3 million, and then right here you have almost just a little over 4. So it wouldn't be a huge risk to take when it comes to Trey Lance if the Detroit Lions were to look at on the salary side of things. Now, why is this intriguing? Because there is Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell went to this guy's pro day, and you're talking about the perfect developmental quarterback. We have no idea who Trey Lance is going to be. Now, some people feel he's going to be just the biggest bust since Jeff Okudah. I'm sorry. And some people think that he has tremendous upside. I don't know. I haven't seen enough of a sample size. We knew that he was raw. I don't really get to see San Francisco 49ers games. But you have to know that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes went to this guy's pro day. And according to Pride of Detroit, they went back in their archives and they talked about Dan Campbell and what he said, what actually Brad Holmes had to say when they actually took him, when they went to his pro day. Here it is right here. This is coming from Pride of Detroit. This is coming from the Free Press, the year that he was drafted. And this is what Brad had to say after the draft. It says, asked Thursday morning under what circumstances he would take a quarterback at 7, assuming Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are gone. Holmes said, there's 2 of them that are interesting now that you've eliminated options. Meaning, I want to say it was Trey Lance was one of them, and maybe Justin Fields was the other one. It says, after the draft, he told the Free Press that once North Dakota State's Trey Lance rounded out the top, he knew the Lions would be taking a different position at 7. Now, if you remember, it was Zach Wilson. It was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. And then there wasn't another pick. We picked Penei Sewell, passing on Justin Fields and Mac Jones. So this is very intriguing. You have the monetary compensation. Now, what would the draft capital compensation be? The 49ers, if I'm not mistaken, gave up 3 first-round picks or something crazy like that to move up to get Trey Lance. And it's amazing how fast the NFL world moves. Now, obviously, they're not going to get that in return. But what would they be if they are fielding calls and they are interested? What kind of package would you have to put together to get Trey Lance? Atlanta got Jeff Okudah for a 5th. So we're talking about the same position just a year after each other, meaning the same draft spot, number 3 overall. Jeff Okudah 2020, Trey Lance 2021. That would be crazy. We got rid of a 3rd overall pick for another 3rd overall pick. The compensation, what would it be? Would it be 2 late picks? Would it be a 5th and a what would it be? That is the question. What would you be willing to give up to get Trey Lance? That is a question. We have 9 picks right now. Would you be willing to give, let me see, let's say a 3rd and a 5th? We don't have, let's say we give up pick 81 and we give up pick 1 something for Trey Lance. Would that be something that you're willing to do? So let me give you my take on this. This would, for the right capital, I wouldn't mind doing this because it's kind of a win-win scenario, but at the same time, Jared Goff and Trey Lance would be ending, their contracts would end at the same time. We already heard yesterday that there's no talk for extension. So we could trade for Trey Lance. Trey Lance is only 22 years old, so we could trade for him. His upside is tremendous. He could learn under Jared Goff. We could bring him in on some packages, something like that. He's not going to cost that much. He's still young. But we would have to extend Jared Goff too. So it's to me, that would be the biggest obstacle, is the fact that in 2024, both of those guys could be off the team. So then we would be back. We would be worse than where we started from. So that would be the biggest thing. I think, though, after this year, if we did trade for Trey Lance, and we have both of them on the roster, we extend Jared Goff after this year, we see what we have from Trey Lance this year, and then we could rock with him his last year and maybe take another quarterback. It's so many different ways we could go. If the price was right, the compensation was right, I wouldn't mind taking this deal because he's 22 years old, and we really don't know what he can do yet. His sample size is much too small. It's kind of like Malik Willis in 2022. There's not enough there for you to base whether or not he's going to be a bust or not. You know what I'm saying? Now, he's trending that way, no doubt. 3rd overall pick, you have to be able to perform or you get that label slapped on you. But would it be something I would be willing to do this for the right draft if the price was right? I would be willing to do this because Jared Goff is going to be the starter for the next 2 years. It is what it is. And Trey Lance's upside is too enticing to pass on if the price is right. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Would you want the Lions to pull the trigger on a Trey Lance trade if the compensation was right? I would be willing to do that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. My name is Derek. This is Detroit Lions Syndicate. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Don't forget about live NFL draft coverage. A week from tomorrow is round 1. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself. And as always, go Lions.